My sister's lie destroyed my marriage in one conversation, and my entire family believed her without question. What I discovered about why she did it changed everything I thought I knew about loyalty and betrayal. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life drama stories. The text message came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my corner office in downtown Seattle. It was from my mother, and it contained only 7 words that would shatter my world. "We need to talk about your marriage." My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. Mom never texted about serious matters. She was old school, preferring phone calls or face-to-face conversations. The formality of her message sent ice through my veins. I called her immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. Then I tried my father, my older brother Marcus, even my grandmother. Nobody answered. The silence was deafening and ominous. The drive home to our suburban Bellevue house felt endless. Traffic crawled along I-405, giving me too much time to imagine what could possibly be wrong. Had someone seen David with another woman? Had there been an accident? My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. By the time I pulled into our driveway, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn off the engine. David's car was already there, which was unusual for a Tuesday afternoon. He typically worked late on Tuesdays, staying at the architecture firm until at least 7. I found him sitting at our kitchen island with a glass of whiskey in his hand. His usually warm brown eyes were cold, distant. He didn't look up when I walked in, just continued staring at the amber liquid in his glass. "David? What's going on? I got this weird text from Mom and nobody's answering their phones." He finally raised his eyes to meet mine, and I saw something there I'd never seen before in our 8 years of marriage. Doubt. Pure, painful doubt mixed with what looked like disgust. "Your sister called me today," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "She told me some interesting things about your business trips to Portland." My blood ran cold. Portland was where our company's regional office was located. I traveled there twice a month for meetings with our development team. It was routine, boring even. "What are you talking about?" "She said you've been having an affair with your colleague James, that you've been meeting him at hotels during your business trips, that the whole family knows and they've been trying to figure out how to tell me for months." The words hit me like physical blows. I actually staggered backward, gripping the granite countertop for support. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too hot. "That's not true. David, that's absolutely not true." "Why would Emma say that?" "She had details, Quinn. Specific details that she couldn't have just made up. She knew about the Marriott downtown, about the conference in February where you extended your stay by 2 days. She even knew about the text messages you've been exchanging with him." "What text messages?" "David, I've never cheated on you. Not with James, not with anyone. James is married with 3 kids, and we're strictly professional colleagues. You can check my phone right now." But even as I offered, pulling my phone from my purse and holding it out to him, I could see he'd already made up his mind. My sister Emma, 2 years younger and always the family favorite, had painted a picture so vivid and detailed that it seemed impossible to refute. "She showed me screenshots," David continued, his voice getting quieter, more defeated. "Text messages between you and James. Late-night conversations about missing each other, about how hard it was to be apart. Plans to meet at hotels. Quinn, I saw them with my own eyes." "That's impossible because those conversations never happened." "David, please, you have to believe me. Whatever Emma showed you, it's fake. I don't know why she's doing this, but it's not real." He stood up abruptly, draining his whiskey glass and setting it down with more force than necessary. "I think I need some space to think. I'm going to stay at my brother's for a few days." "David, no. Please don't leave. We can figure this out. Call James right now. Call his wife. They'll tell you nothing happened. Your own sister wouldn't lie about something like this, Quinn. Why would she want to hurt you? What would she have to gain?" I watched helplessly as the man I loved walked upstairs and packed a bag. Every attempt I made to explain, to reason with him, was met with silence or short, clipped responses. When he came back downstairs with his suitcase, he paused at the front door. "I need time to process this. I'll call you in a few days." The sound of the door closing behind him was the loneliest sound I'd ever heard. That night, I called Emma 17 times. She didn't answer once. Sleep was impossible. I spent the entire night pacing our empty house, trying to make sense of what had happened. Emma and I had always had a complicated relationship, the typical sibling rivalry complicated by the fact that we were so different. She was artistic, spontaneous, and emotional. I was practical, organized, and career-focused. But I never thought she hated me enough to do something like this. The next morning brought a harsh reality I wasn't prepared for. When I called my mother again, she answered on the first ring, but her voice was strained and formal. "Quinn, I think we should meet for coffee. There are things we need to discuss." We met at our usual spot, a small cafe in downtown Kirkland where we'd been having mother-daughter talks since I was in college. But nothing about this felt usual. Mom sat across from me with her hands folded, her expression guarded in a way I'd never seen before. "Emma came to see me yesterday evening," she began without preamble. She was very upset. She said she couldn't keep quiet anymore about what she knew, that her conscience wouldn't let her watch David live a lie. "Mom, whatever she told you, it's not true. I have never, ever cheated on David. I love him more than anything. Why would Emma make something like this up?" My mother's eyes softened slightly, but I could see the conflict there. She wanted to believe me, but Emma had clearly been very convincing. "Honey, she had evidence. She showed me text messages on her phone, photos of you and this James person at restaurants. She said you confided in her months ago about having feelings for him, about how your marriage was feeling stale. I never confided anything because there's nothing to confide. Those messages have to be fake. And if there are photos of me with James, they're from work functions where other colleagues were present too. Mom, you've known me for 32 years. Do you really think I'm capable of betraying David like this?" She was quiet for a long moment, stirring her latte absently. When she finally looked up, there were tears in her eyes. "I don't know what to think, Quinn. I don't want to believe it. But Emma was so specific, so detailed. And she was crying. She said it was tearing her apart to keep your secret, but she couldn't watch David be made a fool of anymore." The manipulation was masterful, I had to admit. Emma had always been good at playing the victim, at making herself seem like the reluctant messenger of uncomfortable truths. Even as children, she'd had a talent for twisting situations to her advantage, making me look like the bad guy when we fought. Did she say why she decided to tell now, after supposedly keeping this secret for months? She said she ran into David at the grocery store last week, and he was talking about planning a surprise anniversary trip for you two. She said she couldn't bear to watch him spend money and plan something special when you were being unfaithful. I felt physically sick. Our 8th anniversary was next month, and David had been dropping hints about a surprise. The thought that Emma had used his love for me as ammunition made my stomach turn. "Mom, I'm telling you the truth. I need you to believe me. Can't you at least consider that Emma might be lying?" The hurt in my mother's eyes was almost unbearable. Why would she lie about something like this? What would she have to gain? And Quinn, she showed me the messages. I saw them myself. Over the next week, I discovered the full extent of the damage Emma had done. She hadn't just told our parents. She'd methodically contacted every member of our extended family, sharing her fabricated story with each of them. Marcus, my older brother who lived in San Francisco, wouldn't take my calls. When I finally reached his wife, Sarah, she was cold and distant. "Quinn, I think you need to get help. What you've done to David is unforgivable. Marcus is too angry to talk to you right now." My cousins Jessica and Michael, who I'd grown up with and considered my closest friends, had apparently been told the story during a family group chat. When I tried to call Jessica, she answered, but her tone was icy. "I can't believe you would do this to David. He's such a good man." And to confide in Emma and make her keep your secret? That was cruel. Even my grandmother, who'd always been my strongest supporter and who had helped raise me while my parents worked, sounded disappointed and distant when I finally reached her. "Quinny, I'm so disappointed. Your grandfather and I taught you better than this. That poor boy David. He called me yesterday, you know. He's heartbroken." Emma had been thorough and strategic. She'd told everyone, painted herself as the reluctant truth-teller burdened with terrible knowledge, and provided just enough fabricated evidence to make her story believable. The worst part was David. He'd moved out completely, started staying at his brother's place indefinitely. When I tried to meet with him to show him that the screenshots Emma had shown him had to be fake, he just shook his head. "Quinn, I want to believe you. I really do. But how can I trust anything you say now? Your own family believes this. Your sister wouldn't lie about something this serious. She loves you. She doesn't love me, David. I don't know why she's doing this, but she's lying. You're asking me to believe that your entire family is wrong, that your sister fabricated evidence, that she's orchestrating some elaborate scheme to destroy your marriage? Do you hear how that sounds?" He was right. It did sound crazy, but it was the truth, and I was going to prove it. I hired a private investigator named Sarah Chen, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s who specialized in digital forensics and family disputes. Her office was in Pioneer Square, filled with computer equipment and case files that spoke to years of uncovering uncomfortable truths. Text message screenshots are surprisingly easy to fake these days, Sarah explained during our first meeting. There are dozens of apps that can create convincing conversations that never happened. Photos can be manipulated, timestamps altered, metadata scrubbed, but there are usually digital fingerprints left behind if you know where to look. I gave Sarah everything I could think of: Emma's phone number, her social media accounts, dates and times of the alleged conversations, details about James and our work relationship. I also provided her with my actual phone records and text history to prove the conversations had never happened. While Sarah worked on the technical evidence, I started digging into Emma's recent behavior and motivations. I thought back over the past year, looking for clues I might have missed, signs that she was building up this level of resentment. Emma had been struggling professionally for the better part of 2 years. She'd graduated with a degree in graphic design, but had bounced between jobs, never quite finding her footing. She'd been laid off from her latest marketing position 6 months ago and had been living with our parents while looking for work. She'd also recently ended a 3-year relationship with her boyfriend Todd, a relationship that had ended badly when she discovered he'd been cheating on her with a coworker. The breakup had been devastating for her, and she'd spent weeks crying on our parents' couch, talking about how all men were liars and cheats. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. My neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd lived next door for 15 years and who knew our family well. She stopped me while I was getting my mail one evening, her expression concerned. "Quinn, dear, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is everything all right? I saw your sister here a few weeks ago taking pictures of your house, and it seemed odd." My blood went cold. "Taking pictures? When exactly was this?" "It was a Saturday morning, maybe 3 weeks ago. You and David had left early in your car together, and maybe an hour later I saw Emma pull up in her little blue Honda. She spent quite a while in your driveway with her phone, taking photos of the house from different angles. Then she tried your front door, like she was checking if it was locked. 3 weeks ago would have been right before Emma made her accusations. David and I had gone to his company's annual family picnic that Saturday, leaving early in the morning and not returning until evening. Why would Emma be at our house, photographing it and trying to get inside? I called the security company that monitored our neighborhood's camera system. For a small fee, they provided me with footage from the street cameras. There it was, clear as day. Emma's car parked outside our house at 9:15 a.m. on a Saturday when David and I were 40 miles away at a company picnic. The timestamp showed her spending nearly 20 minutes on our property, walking around the house, taking photos with her phone, and indeed trying both the front and back doors. But what was she doing there? What was she looking for? The answer came from Sarah 3 days later. She'd found multiple inconsistencies in the metadata of the screenshots Emma had provided to my family. More importantly, she'd traced the creation of the fake text conversations to an app called Message Faker, which had been downloaded on a phone registered to Emma's name just 4 weeks ago. "She's not very good at covering her digital tracks," Sarah said, sliding a thick folder across her desk. "But I found something else interesting. Your sister has been very active on social media lately, posting a lot about feeling invisible and unappreciated. There's a pattern of resentment there that goes back months." I scrolled through printouts of Emma's recent posts, many of which I'd missed because I'd been so busy with work and hadn't been checking social media regularly. Post after post revealed a deep bitterness I'd never fully recognized. Some people get everything handed to them while others have to fight for scraps. Success isn't always deserved. Sometimes it's just luck and connections. Tired of being the family disappointment while others get all the praise. When you're always compared to someone else, you start to hate the person you're being compared to. The posts were subtle enough that most people probably read them as general frustration with life, but knowing what I knew now, they read like a roadmap to revenge. The final piece of the puzzle came from James himself. When I finally worked up the courage to tell him what he'd been accused of, he was horrified, but also immediately helpful. "Quinn, this is insane. I keep detailed calendars for work and personal stuff. I can show you exactly where I was during every business trip, every conference. Most of the time when I travel, my wife Linda comes with me, or I room with other male colleagues to save the company money." He provided documentation that completely contradicted Emma's fabricated timeline. During the February Portland conference, where I'd supposedly extended my stay to spend time with him, he'd actually returned home a day early for his daughter's 8th birthday party. His wife had posted dozens of photos of the celebration on Facebook, with timestamps that proved his alibi. "Linda is going to want to talk to you," James said. "She's furious that someone would try to destroy 2 marriages with lies." Armed with all this evidence, security footage, digital forensics, social media posts, and alibis, it was time to confront Emma. I found Emma at our parents' house on a Thursday evening, sitting in the same living room where we'd played as children, where we'd fought over toys and later over boys and college plans and career choices. She was curled up on the old blue couch with a cup of tea, watching some reality TV show. She looked up when I walked in, and for just a moment, I saw fear flash across her face before she composed herself and put on an expression of wounded innocence. "Quinn, I wondered when you'd show up. We need to talk, privately." Our parents were at their weekly book club, so we had the house to ourselves. I sat across from her on the chair where our father usually read his newspaper, the coffee table between us like a barrier. "I know what you did, Emma. I have proof." She raised an eyebrow, but I could see her hands trembling slightly around her mug. "I don't know what you mean." I pulled out the folder Sarah had prepared, spreading the evidence across the coffee table methodically. The metadata reports showing the fake messages had been created using an app. The security footage of her at my house, screenshots of her bitter social media posts, James's alibis, and documentation. "You used an app called Message Faker to create fake conversations between me and James. You broke into my house to stage photos that would support your story. You manipulated our entire family with fabricated evidence." Emma stared at the papers for a long moment, her composure finally starting to crack. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes. But they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of rage and frustration. "Do you know what it's like being your sister?" she exploded, setting down her mug so hard that tea sloshed over the sides. "Perfect Quinn with her perfect job and perfect husband and perfect house. Everyone always comparing me to you. Why can't you be more like Quinn? Quinn has her life together. Quinn makes smart choices. Quinn never disappoints us. So you decided to destroy my marriage? I wanted you to know how it felt to lose something important. To have people doubt you and judge you and look at you with disappointment. To not be the golden child for once in your life." Her words hit me like a physical blow. All these years I'd thought we were close despite our differences. I'd never realized how much resentment she'd been harboring, how every family gathering and phone call and shared success had been feeding this poison inside her. "Emma, I never tried to overshadow you. I've always supported your dreams, celebrated your successes. When you got your first job, I threw you a party. When you moved into your apartment, I helped you move and bought you furniture. Your successes were always bigger. Your celebrations got more attention. Even when I got promoted last year, all Mom could talk about was your new promotion and your raise and your corner office. I remembered that conversation. I'd been excited to share my news about making senior director, not realizing it would completely overshadow Emma's promotion to senior graphic designer. But that didn't justify destroying my marriage and turning our family against me. You could have talked to me about feeling overshadowed. We could have worked through these feelings. Instead, you tried to ruin my life. Emma wiped her eyes, some of the fight going out of her, but she still looked defiant. I didn't think it would go this far. I thought maybe David would confront you. You'd have a fight. Maybe separate for a while. I thought you'd know what it felt like to have your perfect life disrupted. But you made sure it went further. You went to each family member individually with your lies. You created fake evidence. You planned this out carefully. She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the evidence spread across the coffee table. I was so angry. I've been angry for so long, and when Todd cheated on me, something just snapped. I felt like everyone who had what I wanted deserved to lose it too. Todd cheated on you, not me. David never did anything to hurt you. Our parents never compared him to Todd. You punished innocent people for your own pain. I know. Her voice was small now, childlike in a way that reminded me of when we were young and she'd broken something and was finally admitting to it. I know that. But in the moment, it felt justified. It felt like you deserved to hurt as much as I was hurting. The conversation that followed was long and painful. Emma slowly admitted to the full scope of her deception. She showed me the app on her phone, the fake conversations she'd created, the photos she'd manipulated. She explained how she'd used details from my real work trips and combined them with fabricated romantic elements. She'd been planning it for weeks, ever since her breakup with Todd. She'd downloaded the app, studied my schedule, even driven by my office to take pictures of James leaving the building that she could use to support her story. "I'll tell everyone the truth," she finally promised, though she looked terrified at the prospect. "I'll show them the evidence that I made it all up. I'll call David and apologize." But even as she made these promises, I knew the damage to our relationship was probably irreparable. Trust, once broken so completely and deliberately, doesn't heal easily or quickly. The process of repairing the damage Emma had caused took months. Emma did confess to our parents first, showing them the fake message app and admitting she'd lied about everything. Our mother was devastated. Our father was furious in a way I'd rarely seen. Telling the extended family was harder. Some believed Emma's confession immediately and apologized for doubting me. Others seemed to think she was lying now to protect me, that maybe the truth was somewhere in between. A few family relationships never fully recovered. David and I went to marriage counseling. The betrayal he felt wasn't about infidelity, it was about the realization that someone could manipulate the truth so completely that he doubted the person he knew better than anyone. We had to rebuild our trust not just in each other, but in our ability to distinguish truth from lies, reality from manipulation. Emma moved to Portland after confessing to the family, taking a job with a small design firm and starting over in a city where no one knew about what she'd done. She sent me a letter 6 months later, apologizing again and saying she was in therapy, working on her resentment and learning healthier ways to process difficult emotions. I'm still not sure if I'll ever fully forgive her. Some betrayals cut too deep, damage too much. But I've learned something valuable about the importance of questioning everything, even when it comes from family. Truth isn't always comfortable, and lies aren't always obvious. But fighting for what's real is the only way to protect what matters most. Sometimes the people closest to us are capable of the deepest deceptions. But sometimes refusing to accept easy answers and fighting for the truth is the only way to save everything we hold dear.